The search for racism in American public life continues. The real problem for the left, of course, is that the demand outstrips the supply, and so the price is going up on racism. Bernie Sanders has come up with another spin on why America is racist. He suggests that it is deeply imperative that our medical schools produce more doctors of diversity, not on the basis of meritocracy, not on the basis of things like board score, but on the basis of race. Here he was yesterday, our useless senator from Vermont, career useless person, complete drain on the resources of society, leech on the American taxpayer, Bernie Sanders.
When Black, Latino, and Native American patients have access to Black, Latino, and Native American doctors, their health outcomes substantially improve. They are more likely to receive preventative services, they are more satisfied with their care, and they are more likely to live longer and happier lives.
Okay, so this is one of those stats that is very often trotted out without any reference to actual statistics or comparison groups. So there's a study that just came out this week, led by researchers at Harvard Medical School. It found that newly trained physicians with high board certification exam scores led to lower risk of patient death and hospital readmission. The study was published May 6th in JAMA, that's the Journal of American Medical Association, that analyzed 7,000 newly trained hospitalists who treated Medicare fee-for-service beneficiaries during 455,000 hospitalizations from 2017 to 2019. The researchers found no association between overall milestone ratings or medical knowledge ratings and hospitalization outcomes. They did find an association between certification exam score and reduced 7-day mortality and readmissions. In other words, the better you do on your exams, the better you are likely to be as a doctor in diagnosing and preventing things like botchery. And so it turns out that being a good doctor has a lot to do with merit. It has a lot to do with intellectual performance. So why is it that there are all these stats that show, for example, that Black patients do better with Black doctors? There are a couple of possible rationales. One is a trust gap, that Black patients don't trust non-Black doctors as much as they trust Black doctors, and so they are more honest with Black doctors that are more likely to listen to Black doctors. That seems like kind of racist, right? I mean, if you said white patients only do well with white doctors because they're really not willing to talk to the Black doctors. I mean, let's be real about this. Everyone would accuse the patients of racism. But when the races are reversed, of course, then, of course, we have to be culturally sensitive, and it's very important that the doctor look like you. Now, that's always been a weird answer to me because as somebody, like every American who has been a patient at a doctor's office, I have never once thought about the race of the doctor treating me. If the doctor is there, he knows more than I do. And if he had a good board score, I'm a happy camper. As long as he's giving me good care, I could not care what color he is. So that's possibility number one. And that's been posited by a bunch of studies that Black patients, for example, trust Black doctors more, or Native American patients trust Native American doctors more. There is another possibility, which is that patient outcomes are better with Black doctors in Black areas because there are a lot of Black doctors who go to live in predominantly Black areas, and they have, on average, higher board scores, for example, than white doctors who end up practicing in Black areas. Because white doctors who have really high board scores end up practicing in higher income areas. So you're looking at the wrong comparison group. But the answer that Bernie Sanders is coming up with is that we should do away with the meritocracy and basically cast for race when it comes to American medical schools, which is ridiculous. He's actually calling for more segregation in American public life. He is saying that a white doctor treating a Black patient is a bad thing, that somehow that's bad. You need Black doctors treating Black patients. Now, presumably, he would also think that Black doctors should treat white patients, because again, he wouldn't say that white doctors should treat white patients or anything remotely like that. The only race that is barred from this level of Bernie Sanders-esque racial solidarity are white people. White people not allowed to want white doctors. Black people definitely not only allowed to want Black doctors, we should all restructure the entire system so as to achieve more Black doctors in defiance of the actual MCAT scores that people are getting to get into medical school. That is the proposition that Bernie Sanders is putting forward. We'll get to more on this in just one moment. First, once again, Pure Talk is investing in their own customers with their own money without charging you an extra penny. I'm happy to announce that Pure Talk is now providing international roaming to over 50 countries. As you plan your summer travel, make sure your wireless provider has you covered at home and abroad. Pure Talk already puts you on America's most dependable 5G network. Now they're offering coverage in over 50 countries as well. Enjoy the freedom of unlimited talk, text, and ample 5G data for just $20 a month with Pure Talk. This is a deal that's hard to beat, costing you less than half of what you'd pay with other networks. Not only is their U.S. customer service team ready to assist you with the seamless switch, they also have fantastic savings on the latest iPhones and Androids. Ready to make a smart switch? Join my cell phone company, Pure Talk. Start saving today. Visit puretalk.com/Shapiro to explore their offers. When you make the switch, you'll enjoy an additional 50% off your very first month of coverage. Don't miss out on the opportunity to save on wireless at home and abroad. Visit puretalk.com/Shapiro. Again, that's puretalk.com/Shapiro today. Use the same coverage that I've got. puretalk.com/Shapiro to get started today. The reality, of course, is that I really don't think this has anything to do with racism. I think it has to do with the selection bias. In order to really do a comparison case, what you'd have to do is look at the board scores in predominantly black areas between black doctors and white doctors practicing in those areas, and then try to correlate that with patient outcome, which is not what's been done. Again, the search for racism continues. Meanwhile, it is always fun to see the radicals in the Democratic Party struggling with their own radical policy. So yesterday, Mayor Brandon Johnson, remember that Chicago is a sanctuary city. He was complaining about the levels of illegal immigration and the fact that Chicago is being forced to bear the burden. Here is socialist fool Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago.
The governor of Texas is determined to create chaos. We have brought calm, structure to a very volatile situation.
Have you?
But again, this is unprecedented. Unprecedented. Never in the history of America where a local government has been asked to build a resettlement for migrants. But yet here we are.
Well, maybe that has nothing to do with the Texas governor and everything to do with the president you support. Meanwhile, Mayor Eric Adams, he has some recommendations. He wants migrants to get jobs. He is suggesting lifeguard. I will say that Mayor Adams is, that dude is a comedy wellspring. He is just a wealth of comedy.
Plan that states those jobs that we are in high demand, we could expedite. How do we have a large body of people that are in our city and country that are excellent swimmers, and at the same time we need lifeguards? And the only obstacle is that we won't give them the right to work to become a lifeguard.
How do you know they're excellent swimmers? What are you talking, like, because they swam the Rio Grande? Like, well, what are you talking about here? It's like, it is always funny to me how Democrats routinely talk about illegal immigrants in ways that would be considered vastly racist if ever said by a Republican. Democrats will say things like, who's going to pick the fruit in the fields if the illegal immigrants aren't allowed in? You're like, whoa, are you allowed to say that now? Like, what? Why? Why are you allowed? Well, these migrants, they sure know how to swim. Like, my goodness, Eric Adams. Solid stuff from the Democratic Party. Our country and our big cities are in the best of hands. Are you tired of the lies and the twist of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.